You're listening to the Southampton Delivery Podcast, a podcast dedicated to the Southampton Football Club and all of the SFC fans.
If you want to have guarantees, you have to buy a washing machine. We don't lose a match, either we win or we learn. And today we learned.
It's infield to Mane, 25 yards out. Lovely ball for Bella. Onside, 1-0. Blue fast shot. Oh my word!
Unbelievable. We ran around the pitch like Bambi on ice. It was very, very embarrassing to watch.
And now, your host, Matt Markstone.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Southampton Delivery Podcast, a podcast and newsletter dedicated to the Southampton Football Club and all of the SFC fans, and available right here on southamptondelivery.com. My name is Matt Markstone. I am the host of the show, and no matter where you are, no matter how you may be listening, whether this is your first time or you've been here before, thanks for making the show part of your day. I hope you enjoy it. And first off, announcement, if you haven't heard, Saints are officially safe. We will have Premier League football next season. And we largely have Ralph Hasenhüttl to thank for it. And I think when I say largely, that's an understatement. And we'll get a chance to talk about that with this week's guest, Jake Hughes, who is the editor of St. Mary's Musings. You can get a hold of him on Twitter at JJHughes_. And you can find St. Mary's Musings at St. Mary's Musings on Twitter. The links to the website are also in the show notes. And it is partnered with SB Nation. So Jake has been on the show before. Jake was one of the few people that I met. Not one of the few people, one of the people I met when I went over to the UK. And so we'll talk all about that. We'll talk about life. We'll talk about Saints. We'll have a really good time because that's what we did. We talked for over 2 hours. So I've cut that down quite a bit here. It is still quite a lengthy episode, though. You will see if you look down at the time of the episode. But anyway, we had a really, really good time. Perhaps too good. Jake was really honest with a lot of things, and that is really what makes it for a good episode, in my opinion. I think you get to hear kind of how you manage, how you balance everything that you try to do in your life. And I'm right there with him. So we left some of it in, we took some of it out, just, because we thought it was the right thing to do. So anyway, before we get to that though, probably bigger news. Fran Benali is now, when you're listening to this, if you're listening to it on release day, in the midst of day 2 of the Iron Fran. And we wish him nothing but the best. An Ironman triathlon, just looking at it hurts me, let alone actually doing it. Anybody who does, I know Adam Leach does some long distance, ultra endurance type stuff. And I just think that is next level dedication. We wish him nothing but the best. And if you want to donate, the link is in the show notes. You can help support him. He's reaching for £1 million for cancer research. So if you can help at all, that would be great. You can do that. But that does it for the announcements, other than I'd like to say, I don't know if my wife is listening, but it is her birthday today. So happy birthday. I love you. Yeah. So let's get to my conversation with Jake Hughes. Once again, you can find him on Twitter at JJHughes_. And St. Mary's Musings is at St. Mary's Musings. Talk to you on the other side. Thanks for listening. Hope you enjoy the show. I'd like to welcome back to the Southampton Delivery Podcast, Jake Hughes. You can find him on Twitter at JJHughes_. You can get more from him at St. Mary's Musings. Jake, welcome back to the show. Thank you so much for joining me again, and better circumstances than I think the last time I saw you in person, which was West Ham away last year. And welcome back.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Yeah, last time, well, the only time we've seen each other, was before West Ham away last season. I think it was the day after my birthday. I was quite intoxicated by the time you saw me, but it was the calm before the storm, which was a 3-0 loss. So I do apologise on behalf of Southampton Football Club for such an awful game. Hopefully next week, even though there aren't any permutations anymore, hopefully we'll have a slightly better performance at the very least.
Yeah, absolutely. And you don't have to apologise to me, man. I had a great time. I met a bunch
of people. Do you remember much of
it? Ish, but only because I listened back to the show that Freddie and I did after that with the guys in the pub. And that was we went into the pub before and we told everybody what we were going to do. And we had asked if Freddie had checked in before, and they said, yeah, it's totally fine. We did it. And the people that were working at the bar were just like, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? What's all this crap? And I was just like, look, we're just going to keep drinking. Like, we'll be okay. Like, we'll get it. And then they were eventually fine with it. As long as we weren't asking people about their bar, I think they were okay. So hey, but I think you made a good impression. I ran into a lot of people that day who were more pissed off than you, so at least you were having a good time.
Well, I don't know if you recall, it was actually before the game, so
that's true.
At that point, yeah, although things weren't going our way anyway around then, but yeah, it was before the game. I actually remember, so I went down at before half time, which I never do. To be honest, I'm not one to I never get any food at the stadium. I don't really buy overpriced beer at the stadium or anything like that. If I were to drink, it'll be before the game and after. I actually went down because I drank so much before the game. I needed to go to the toilet, so I stayed down there, just sort of watch the rest of the game, wait for people to come down, and I'd go up when it's a bit more quiet. But I saw probably about 20 Saints fans all smoking in the concourse, which is obviously not allowed. And I'd bought some cigarettes being drunk, and I asked, I knew the answer really, but I asked, why are you smoking? Are we allowed to smoke? And a Saints fan I asked replied, well, I don't care if I get kicked out, because the game was that bad. I think people just started smoking in the hopes that stewards or police would sort of do their job for them and make them leave. So
yeah, because you don't want to be the guy who leaves.
Yeah, exactly. So if you've got an excuse to, if you're told to leave, then
you're being forced to leave.
Yeah, exactly. It was really weird. So I actually joined in and smoked with them, and unfortunately, no one told me to leave. Yeah, the game didn't get any better, and so I hate to say it's the earliest I've ever left a match. We left on about 80 minutes, which I did feel very guilty about, but I was pretty far gone, so
yeah,
it's probably for the best that I left a bit early.
At that point, we stayed. Freddie had to do the fan cam thing afterwards.
Yeah,
I had to send in something.
Which I've been a victim of. If Freddie is listening, he stuck a camera in my face immediately as soon as I left the Amex Stadium last season. It was as if he knew he was like a predator waiting for his prey. He just pounced out of nowhere. I think I had about 2 seconds of advance warning. Hopefully I pulled off a good enough, competent job to try and explain my feelings. But yes, I fell foul to Freddie.
He's pretty good at that, I think.
He is, yeah. He's got a way about him.
We wound up getting separated. I had to send in a video to the Premier League TV fan zone show. And so I had to go do that, and he went to go do that, and I had to get away from the stadium so I could send it in because it wouldn't like load. And so I walked kind of far away, and apparently I walked past a point of no return. And so I'm like, my friend is right there. He's the guy with the microphone and the camera. He's talking to people. Like, I need to get to them. And they're just like, sorry, you can't come back. You have to go all the way around and wait. And I'm just like, so I'm like trying to call Freddie then, who's obviously trying to record. It was a mess, but he found me, got me back to safety. And then the rest of the vacation, it got better from there, I think, because, we didn't lose again while I was, over there. But
well, thanks for that. We can credit you for that.
Yeah, something like that. But yeah, I mean, anything new going on with you other than the team is safe, which is fantastic.
Yeah, and that is a big deal. Obviously, since we last spoke, Ralph's taken over, and I tweeted yesterday he should be given keys to Southampton. I think what he's done has been absolutely incredible. But I'm still not convinced on half the squad. But I think he's done an absolutely brilliant job. Even if we have let some points slip late on in a few games, well, the last two, I think he's done a miraculous job almost. You see all the sort of points comparisons between Hughes and Hasenhüttl always chalk and cheese. I think if it was Ralph Kruger behind the Hasenhüttl appointment, I think be thanking Kruger, which I never thought I'd say, to be honest. But yeah, he's done a brilliant job. And when I heard we were linked with signing Hassan Hüttel, I don't know if you recall, maybe two seasons ago, there were these terrible rumours which are so far off the mark, it's unreal. And we were being linked to Thomas Tuchel,
right,
who obviously now manages PSG, just left Dortmund. And a deluded subsection of Saints fans seemed convinced that Tuchel was going to take over at Saints, which obviously never happened. I thought exactly the same with the Hassan Hüttel rumours. Never in my wildest dreams I thought he'd take over at Saints, let alone when we were battling relegation. And for some reason he did decide to sign up, and he's done a brilliant job. And I think he's totally reinvigorated not only the squad but the fan base. We adore him. I just hope he sticks around a while longer than the rest of the managers we've had lately. Your question was more than just football. But I've got a house. I've bought a house, which is a big deal.
Yeah, congratulations!
And so I also started a new job 2 days before moving into the house. So beginning of January was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So lots going on, and I'm still freelancing as ever for both mixed martial arts and for St. Mary's Musings.
Awesome. Homeownership brings its own kind of glory to it, and a lot of other things. Well, I'm trying to be positive-ish. I spent the people that owned our house before did a lot of home improvements themselves. We'll say that. And do
they have very particular taste?
Well, I would say that their taste was more like watch one YouTube video and then think you can do anything.
That's the best kind of taste.
I mean, I'm also guilty of it, so I can't say too much. Like but they poured a fence post. I had to put up a new fence because it was just falling over. It was just a mess, and we'd had a lot of rain, and the wood was so old that it just kind of absorbed all the water, and it was so heavy that it was just it was pulling things over. It wasn't great. So I had to replace the fence, and I did it on spring break, but I got all the posts out, no big deal, except for one, because they poured a 3.5 foot deep, 2.5 foot wide by 2 foot wide hole, and they filled it completely full of concrete. So I had to go get a jackhammer, and I just spent like 2.5 hours with a jackhammer. Just, my kids are like, the house is shaking. I'm like, I have to get this out. My hands, like as of right now, I can this was Thursday when I did it, and I can just now like start to like close my hands all the way, like just ridiculous. And if I was renting, not my problem. That's somebody else's problem. But no, we bought the house. You do this. And it's great. I mean, I'm very proud of myself. The fence that was up. Is it perfect? No, because I watched one YouTube video and thought I could do it. But like, it's I'm pretty proud of it. Every time I go through the gate, it works. It's nice. But my hands still hurt.
So I'm trying to work out the logic behind the just pouring concrete into a wide hole. Was it for one fence post?
One fence post. It was the one that the gate was attached to. So I think that was their thing. And I think they just messed up when they dug the hole, because they just dug too big of a hole. You're supposed to use a post hole digger. That's what they're for. I'm not an expert, but I think that's what that's what they make them for.
It sounds about right. So I'm not going to lie. I've moved into a new build house, so no previous owners. Any mistakes we make are very much our own, so no one else can be blamed. I'll send you a picture of this, actually. Wherever I go, whether it's in Europe or wherever I go on holiday, I try to pick up local football memorabilia.
Okay.
So I've got a couple of scarves from my weirdest place is Reykjavik. I managed to find 2 football clubs there. So I've got a wall. It's like a scarf wall with all the mementos I've picked up over the years. I've basically got towel rails up to hang up these scarves.
Yeah.
And I've managed to absolutely butcher one part of the wall where I've just, I guess, taken my eye off my screwdriver, I guess, and I've just absolutely torn this plasterboard to pieces. Thankfully, the scarves cover it up. But at some point, I will need to fill the messes I've made on this wall. I'll send you a picture. It'll look very pretty, but underneath it's an absolute state.
Yeah, send it over, and I'll use it as the background for this for the artwork.
Yeah, why not? There is so I do have some Saints scarves. We've got the League Cup final from 2017. I've actually the only half and half scarf I've ever bought was when I went to Vitesse Arnhem away. At that point, I thought that was our only hope in hell of ever being in Europe. So I've got a scarf from there. So yeah, at least you'll have some sort of Saints related scarf up there. I
have 2 scarves from the Premier League in USA that sent me in, and then I have one that a listener sent over.
Okay,
those are the only 2, and it's never cold enough for me to wear a scarf here, so I don't ever.
Yeah, well, I would say I feel sorry for you, but then you live in California, so you're just going to have to deal with it, or just wear it.
Yeah, I'm wearing shorts, no socks. The heater's not on. It was a little wet this morning. I was a little disappointed when I went and ran. It was
oh, poor you.
Yeah, it was not enough to it wasn't raining, but I had to step over a puddle once. Rough life.
Yeah, I don't know how you've coped with it.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's enough to ruin a day in California, I'm sure.
It is, and this place is beautiful. I can't complain at all. I can't even make jokes about how bad it is. So it just doesn't work. But yeah, I mean, so life sounds like it's going pretty well. Just busy, which is
definitely that.
There's nothing wrong with that though. That's good. And then St. Mary's Musings is there, and you guys got a few articles coming out and match reports and injury news and things like that going on. So
yeah, injury news. You bastard, Matthew. Right.
I can cut that out. Don't worry.
No, it's fine. Keep it in. It's funny. So I don't know. St. Mary's Musings, it's very much always been a passion project. Just struggling to find a lot of time to really sort of make it the site I want it to be. But so yes, in reference to injury news, I've fallen into the SEO trap, but it's something I want to get out of. It's very much a case of I need to really sort of refocus. But we do have some great content coming out, specifically from Tom Williams, aka at Shirley Mush on Twitter. Is absolutely brilliant in what he writes. We've also had an article from Lucy Hynett, who is a brilliant writer and has her own following on social media as well, and she's been a great help. So yeah, hopefully more features. The site has always been positioned as quite an opinionated site, but hopefully a well-informed, opinionated website. So yeah, I want to sort of direct it back to that. Unfortunately, the summer transfer window is coming up, so I can guarantee, just like with every other Southampton website, it's going to be full of transfer news and rumours and everything else like that to try and get as many clicks as possible. Unfortunately, that's just the way the world is. I'm not sure if other website owners will be as honest as I am with that. But hopefully we can sort of create a format which is more interesting than just sort of reading the old rehashed newspaper rumors.
Yeah. It's, if your only source for anything is always like the Daily Mail or, and I think that I won't even mention some of the other ones, but some of these things, they just are conjured out of nothing. And if there's some fact there, it's always interesting to read that stuff. When you read it and it's just like, there's no way this is happening, or, the 10 players Southampton must sign. I don't want to read that, but some people do.
Believe it or not, I used to write for the Daily Mail quite a long time ago, which the Daily Mail is absolute mud in the UK to most people. I'm not sure if you're aware. It's seen as quite a right-wing publication. Thankfully, I was writing for them in a sports sense. I was actually writing about MLS for a world football column, which I sort of did for I think about a year. It's a sort of university work experience. So yes, I'm not sure how closely you follow MLS, but I did follow it very closely for a number of years, and my interest probably isn't as big as it was, just because I do so many other things now. But yeah, I used to be an MLS writer.
I did not know that, and that's it's interesting. MLS is a weird thing. I don't understand. U.S. Soccer Federation and MLS. There's always stuff going on, and there are people that I follow on Twitter that are very much into it, and very quickly it goes from, oh, this makes sense to I have no idea what's happening. And so I try to stay up with them, and I have people I can ask questions to. Stephen Brandt is one of the patrons of the show, and he's somebody I can go to, and he'll give me a real honest opinion, which is nice. And so I keep up that way, I guess. And I do watch the Dynamo as often as possible.
Of course. You also follow the Astros, right?
That's right. So
I remember you said before.
As of this moment, like, sporting life is okay. Like, Astros are playing well, Dynamo are playing well, Saints are safe. Like, my life is pretty good. My daughter's team won yesterday, and she was been working on her being aggressive, and she was very aggressive. Perhaps a little bit too much. Yeah. Well,
that was definitely my problem as a footballer at 8 years old. But with North American football, I'm very interested to see how the Canadian Premier League takes off. I'm not sure how aware you are of that.
I've heard rumors. I don't know how it's going to all go. It's especially because they do have several MLS teams that are, they're pretty prominent in terms of rivalries and things like that. So it'll be interesting to see how those work out and what happens. But I don't know.
So of course Canada will be in a World Cup. They are co-hosting with the US and Mexico.
Yeah,
that should be interesting. But if you were to ever find, I don't want people to search for it. I've kind of outed myself now with my MLS journalism as a teenager, but you'll see terrible articles such as championing Breck Shea as like the next big thing, or Juan Agudelo being the next Thierry Henry when he was at New York Red Bull. Classic stuff which tends to haunt writers. So if anyone finds that stuff, feel free to send it my way, and you can laugh at my expense if you really want.
I think this is great.
I'm an open book.
Yeah. This is awesome. This is we were talking about the Mark Maron podcast off air, and this is we're getting closer and closer to. I won't ask you to disclose anything else, just because who knows.
Oh, I've got stories, not necessarily just from football, either MMA.
Oh,
but yes, we'll leave that for another podcast, maybe.
Yeah,
maybe you should round up all of the wannabe Saints journos. And have a format just to humiliate us all.
Just your worst story ever. I'll just go searching for stuff, and I'll just pull it up and just ask you what you were thinking when you wrote this. Do you remember this headline, or we'll just play a game? Like, is this your headline or not?
Yeah, just put it. It'll be totally out of left field.
Oh, this will be great.
You should definitely do that. One thing that was published on my site, although I didn't write it, for St. Mary's Musings. I'm sure I must have mentioned to you on your podcast before, but I actually allowed the publication of an article which was basically how the writer, his name's Paul, he wanted Saints to lose to Leicester so they would win the Premier League.
I do remember this.
Yeah. Oh my God. I was out in London that day, and my phone just blew up, and I was like, oh, the Leicester articles come out, and God, there's so much abuse. And there was a few people who were working on the website at the time. I think Connor Armstrong was still helping out with the site then, and he was finding it all very amusing. But we copped a lot of heat. But that was just me standing by the fact that I care about interesting content rather than just rehash news.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's just the way of the world, that you do have to write about that stuff as well now. But oh my God, that was an interesting Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, well, I was listening to you got to keep the lights on at some point, right? And then once the lights are on and there's enough there to do that, then you get to have a little bit more freedom. So I totally get it.
Yeah, it's a numbers game as well. Like you find a lot of the companies behind websites want you to post a certain amount each month, each week, whatever. You just have to do what you can really to meet that. You can't if you're working a full-time job, you're also freelancing in the mixed martial arts world, and you also got a Southampton website to try and prop up. Like, you can't really focus on writing 5 feature articles a week. It's just never happening.
Right.
and I don't apologize for that.
No, you should. I don't think you should. But let's transition into Bournemouth yesterday, because Bournemouth, I want to say it was 17 trips to St. Mary's without a win, something like that. I think is the number. I could be wrong. And the lineup comes out yesterday, and I think there were some injuries that we knew about in terms of Vestergaard and things like that. And Bertrand was a doubt, and other people had been ill. Valerie was back though, so it was all kind of there. But that back line came out. It's clearly a back four. Were you worried at all with that?
I was. On the other hand, the fact that Ings, Long, and Redmond were announced to start made me think, we're going to take the game to Bournemouth, and it proved to be the case, especially for the first 20 or so minutes. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I was definitely concerned. I don't know whether Ralph was playing the sort of modern manager game of saying certain players would be out injured, but he was going to play them anyway, or if both Valerie and Bertrand passed sort of late fitness tests. I believe Long and Stuart Armstrong were also listed as doubts, and they both played. But yeah, I'm definitely not one to sort of jump down the throat of a player and abuse players from the stands or anything like that. But when I saw Jack Stevens was going to be part of the back four, I was concerned. I think those concerns were shared and also founded.
Yeah. When I looked at it, my initial reaction was just like, what is going on? And then you look at the bench and you go, well, Yoshida's out, Vestergaard's out. That's it. And then to me, and I don't know if this is a proper place to talk about it or not, to me, it just showed very quickly how kind of threadbare the squad is. Like, we don't have depth there. And so when we talk about, we got a lot of players on the wage bill, but not a lot of players that are going to fill me with confidence being put either on the bench or in the starting lineup there. So there's definitely work to be done over the summer. And I just always think we've looked a lot more vulnerable with the back four this season, just in general. And so I was a little bit worried, but the opening 20 minutes of the match, like you pointed out, were great. I mean, the entire match was just a joy to watch. From just I like action and things moving around and people, all of a sudden here's a break and there's a break, and that header from Matt Target, all of it was just insane. So I do wish we would have won, but ultimately we're safe, and that's the way it goes. But I thought the team started well. I thought the tempo was there, but what was the mood in the stadium kind of before it all kicked off? Were people confident despite the lineup, or given the lineup, or what was your kind of take from everybody else just around you in the stadium?
So I'll be totally honest. I am largely thanks to my dad. We are the kind of fans that turn up pretty much right on kickoff. But from the team announcements in the pub I was in, it was very much a case of, I don't know, I think fans are quite trusting of Ralph Hasenhüttl. I think deservedly so. I think our Saints are just quite unpredictable, aren't they? And I think even with the announced lineup, and Bournemouth are similarly unpredictable, poor at the back, but dangerous going forward. Mm-hmm. I guess now you can actually say Saints are the same, whereas before we were poor at the back and poor going forward. So it's definitely an improvement on that front. Yeah, I think it was more of an air of, no one really knew what to expect. And I think the game very much lived up to that.
I was really, really kind of just taken with the fact that the Saints just poured the pressure on. We've seen Saints do that before, even under Hughes a little bit, where there was some pressure. but it was like 5 or 6 minutes and nothing, like no clear opportunity really came from it. And then that was it. And then we were done if we didn't score in that time.
Yeah.
But I mean, Bournemouth were on their heels there for I want to say the first 20 minutes or so. And, you know, we did manage to get the goal. And a couple of things that I noticed, Ings played that ball for Redmond last week, where Redmond kind of made that diagonal run in behind the center backs off the shoulder of the fullback. And Ings just kind of played that ball in, and Redmond was able to dink it over. I think he tried that twice yesterday early on, and the keeper denied him both times, or maybe he went wide once or something. But that dynamic, we didn't have that. It was we didn't have that before. And so like to see us do that and to see the intelligence of the movement of our players, I think it's really exciting, because I think it means that the improvements are happening. You know, even if the scoreline says 3-3 at the end of the day, like those are goals that, you know, we have to be in positions to score. And obviously we have to do the defensive stuff, but I think that's easier to coach than maybe making the intelligent run off the ball, because that's not, you know, it's not always I don't know, it's not always easy to show that unless you can find an example of it and say, yeah, I want you to do that, you know? Yeah,
well, off the ball running, I think is one of those uncoachable traits. You either have the natural instinct and the partner to deliver the right ball or spot the run, or you don't. Yeah, I think you're totally right. We looked very dangerous the first 20 minutes. Before Long's goal, it was very much a case of, you know, we were applying all this pressure, but if you'd be concerned if Southampton didn't get a goal from that, because how many times have we seen, you know, Saints have the better of a team in the first half, or, you know, first portion of the game, only to sort of you know, concede a sloppy goal, and then we're desperate for a goal, and the attacks don't flow quite as well. Thankfully, Long did score, but he also missed an absolute sitter, which is one of the worst I've seen in a long time at St Mary's, where I believe he hit the post on a rebound. He had so much time to compose himself just to, you know, put the ball past Artur Boruc, who was on the floor. Yeah, I mean, if that was made 2-0 and that was within the first 20 minutes, if that was 2-0, it was a totally different game where maybe we can focus on defending more rather than we're chasing the game, getting countered and everything else.
That, I mean, I think I just wrote in my notes, like, that's more like it from Long. That's kind of what we've come to expect from him, which is, I mean that in like the nicest possible way. Like that was the kind of form he was in for so long, where he could not score, period. And here he's gone. I think it's 4 goals in 5 games or something like that. It could be slightly off there, but he's scored some brilliant goals, some kind of intelligent goals, some, you know, I thought that the goal he scored against Watford to open the game, that's what he does all the time. Close people down. 99% of the time it comes to nothing, but the ball fell for him. And then he did what we don't expect from him, which is a nice controlled finish, you know, sets the keeper down, chips it over him. That's it. He scored with like that little flick, kind of just helped it on into the goal, I think, early on yesterday. And then he comes up to this one where it's like, dude, all you got to do is you got to pass it in the net. Like you and I, that'll happen to us playing 5-a-side or whatever. And when somebody misses that, you want to kick your own teammate, and then he does it, and then he hits the post, and it's just like, oh my God, like this is where we need you just to be like a little bit more composed. You know, those are the chances that Manchester City don't miss. You know, but it's okay. It's at the end of the day, you almost have to laugh at that point, because he scored some goals, but he shouldn't score anyway.
Yeah, well, it was like that. So when he missed that, because I'm in the northern end, sort of directly behind that goal, he was laughing. I don't think he could believe it either, and because, I guess because he had already scored that game, and for him, he's on an unbelievable goal-scoring run. It's definitely his best run since Koeman's first season. I think because he'd already scored, Saints fans, they weren't angry. I think it was more disbelief, sort of mixed in with laughing. Just like, bloody hell, how do you miss that? But he was exactly the same. Apart from like a little shake of the head, I think he just couldn't believe that what he'd just done. But as you say, it's kind of, you don't want to sound too harsh, but it's kind of what you expect from Shane Long. So after he's already scored, I think we'll let him off that one.
Yeah.
I'm just glad. I'm glad that he's getting more respect from Saints fans. So I think I said early on when Hasenhüttl kind of, so I knew what kind of football Hasenhüttl liked to play with Leipzig, but I was unsure how or what kind of football he would try and play with Saints, and if he were to try and implement a pressing style, I don't know how he would have been able to achieve that with these players, and obviously he has. And when I saw he was playing that style, I thought Long would be absolutely perfect for him, even if he isn't a prolific goal scorer. He just works so hard. He's quick as well, obviously. And the fact that he's now scoring goals, I really do hope, next season he's around to, show more what he can do. If it doesn't work out, his contract does expire in the summer. But I hope, I'm really happy for him, and I hope Saints fans have, for a long time, Saints fans were incredulous if Long was in the first team ahead of Gabbiadini, as an example. I hope Saints fans sort of appreciate the kind of work Long can put in now, because he was brilliant under Koeman for that half a season. Unfortunately, he was displaced by other players or suffered with injury after that. I hope he has he continues his run and gets his shot over the summer and into next season.
Yeah, and I think one thing about when he played under Koeman too is that we played a different system then, but he often played out wide. And
I thought maybe he could do that under Ralph as well.
Well, just let him run off of someone. Let him run off of Ings. Granted, it's not the same as running off of Pella, but like let him run off of Ings and allow, because Ings likes to drop deep, and sometimes that's great because he plays those balls for Redmond, like we pointed out. But at other points, you lose that kind of focal point because all of a sudden you just have a really packed midfield and a guy who's basically has to turn and distribute it either back to Højbjerg or Romeu or out to a fullback. And sometimes you just need a forward making that run in behind to give the defense something to worry about,
Yeah, for sure. And no matter how bad his goal scoring record has been over the last few seasons, Shane Long still absolutely terrifies defenders. If he is running at a defender, you're not seeing a Virgil van Dijk style standing up to them or anything like that. They are in retreat because they know he has more energy than any centre half. He's quicker than most fullbacks. His technique's not all there, but he's laid on some nice assists as well this season under Ralph, including the Ings header. No, Charlie Austin header, against Arsenal, the winner. He's more on. It really was. I'd like to think he meant exactly what he did. It went in, so it's not a problem. But he absolutely terrifies defenders, and I think that's such a useful commodity. No matter how good his finishing is, he creates chances even just by running or making a decoy run. You'll have defenders trying to track him because they're scared he's going to get in behind. So I think he's a really useful asset, even if he doesn't score as much as he should. I think he shouldn't be underestimated in how big a part he can play for Saints.
Yeah, I mean, and I've been overall really impressed with him. And granted, he's been on a ridiculous run recently, but he's, currently tied for third with Redmond for goals scored in the Premier League this season with 5, which is not a huge number, but that's what it is.
That's definitely more indicative of Saints than either of those players.
But even Danny Ings is only on 7, and that's not great. We need a little more from them, but we'll. That's what the summer's for, I think. So we'll get there. But
I certainly hope so.
Yeah, seriously. I did want to quickly point out the counterattack from Bournemouth, and I understand I didn't want to see it happen against us, but like that's one of those ones where you see that happen, and we had maybe one too many players committed forward, and when they broke, it was, I want to say by the second pass, as soon as they got it out of their own penalty area, I just kind of went like, oh no. And then you could just see it kind of unfolding, and I thought it was lethal was the way I would describe it. There was very little anybody could do about that, and the shot itself was great. Gosling, the goal scorer, had to go off shortly after that, and I thought once he went off and Fraser came on, I thought that's when the game kind of changed. I thought that maybe Howe gets a little fortunate in having to pull him off there to be able to put Fraser on, because Fraser really, I think, changed the game for them. And we struggled after that to kind of get back on top, and they eventually go up 2-1, and that's how the half ends. It was an entertaining half, but not necessarily the way you would want to end it if you were Saints, who need a win to guarantee safety.
Yeah, I totally agree. So it was actually so Gosling actually came off in the second half.
Oh,
it was their centre half, Mepham.
Oh, that's right. You're right.
He was
right.
awful.
He was.
He was so bad. But that tactical shift, because they were playing three at the back to begin with, and obviously went to a back four. I don't know why they didn't start with Fraser, because you're totally right. He absolutely changed the game. The counter attack was just, I mean, we got sliced apart really, and from where I was in the stadium, I mean, almost directly behind the goal, it looked like the finish from Gosling was very much the middle of the goal, and you'd like to think Gunn could have saved it, but then I've since watched the replay, and fair play, I mean, Gunn did spread himself. It's just too sort of powerful a finish from that kind of range. But yeah, as soon as that change was made, I don't think it was from our doing or our choice. I think we just got overwhelmed we just didn't. I think maybe because we were playing with a back four for the first time in a long time. We just struggled to contain them. I think Fraser absolutely changed the game.
Yeah. I do remember Mepham having to, on TV at least, having to basically be hugged by the coach because you're being pulled off in the 23rd minute or whatever it is. Like, nobody wants that. That's embarrassing. No. And I
believe we were Southampton were linked with signing him as well.
Really?
It wasn't a great performance. He just he couldn't seem to pass the ball 5 yards.
No,
he was giving the ball away, and I think maybe that was a weakness we were targeting. Who knows? But obviously got hauled off very early, which isn't a great sign for a player's performance. And hopefully, from a personal, hopefully he can sort of pick himself up after that. But it's proved to be the right decision from Eddie Howe, so you can't argue against it.
Yeah, and I think that was the first time they had really had a possession inside of our penalty area. The action had all been at the other end, and sure enough, it's one or two touches, and it's tied up. And then at that point, that's where the Saints team needs to. Before that, we would have just said, well, this is basically it. This is where we cave. This is the end of the road. But that they were beyond kind of up for it, and they fought their way back into it, and they got to halftime down 2-1, but they were able to pick themselves up and continue to go into the second half. And you mentioned, Gunn's potential culpability that for the first goal, which I think you said you watched the replay. It's not really his fault, but. The second goal, I had put a tweet out that it was poor from our defense just to not be there to clean it up, kind of on our heels and stuff when he makes the save. And Lucy said, I kind of think Gunn's got to do better there to push it away to one side or the other. It was deflected, but from your perspective, what do you think of that? Is he to blame there at all? I'm not absolving him completely, I think, but I think we've seen that with other goalkeepers where they make a save and our defense just stands there while the other team puts it in the back of the net. Yeah, so
with Gunn, it's clear he saw the shot late. So he did very well to save it, because that is like a pure reactionary save, and to get to get down that low. It was a powerful low drive to get down that low that quickly when you haven't seen it travel all the way is, that was good. But if he can get low and make the save, he should also be able to push it out, not in front of him, but out. So I'm kind of mixed on it. I think he did well to save the shot initially. Bear in mind, he didn't have any sight of it until the last minute. But the fact that he did get low enough to make the save, I feel like he should have done better. But you're right. I think, once again, Saints' defence switched off. I think, and I hate to criticise this guy, but I believe it was Jan Bednarek who was, slow in responding to the rebound. And, unfortunately, we went 2-1 down. I think after they scored their goal, they just sort of ran the show for the rest of that half. So you kind of felt a goal was coming. It's just a shame it happened in that sort of style.
Yeah, and then, coming out of halftime, Ralph opted to make a change, and we saw Bertrand go to basically play the left side of a 3 and bring in Target and move Valerie up to right wing back and Target as a left wing back. And I think that helped us. We looked much more comfortable again in that formation, and Bertrand had done that job. And I remember being really upset when he wasn't included in the England World Cup squad, because he can play that role. He can play much like Kyle Walker can play the right side of a back 3, or as a wing back, or as a standard fullback on the right side. Like Bertrand can do the same thing. Whereas my argument against Danny Rose was that he couldn't do that. But it doesn't matter. That's long. That's long. That's long gone. But obviously I'm still bitter about it. So that's okay. But I don't know. I was encouraged by the change, because Ralph is not just sitting there letting things happen. He's trying again, and I think you mentioned earlier, he's given a lot of credit. Saints fans trust him. I think if Hughes had laid out the lineup that Hassan Hoodle put out to start the game, didn't matter what the bench was like or anything else, like people would have been up in arms about it, in an overwhelming majority, which I think Hughes earned that. He earned that criticism of himself. So. And I think Ralph has earned the credit that he's gotten as well. We got back into it with the JWP goal, and it was his 7th of the year. And I think he hit it with his left foot, which is
he did.
Not normal for him. And I honestly didn't think anything. I'm left-footed, so when I saw him hit it with his left foot, I was like, oh, he scored with his left foot. And then it's like, oh, everybody's, that's not. He doesn't do that. Most people would try to get it on the dominant foot. So great. I thought maybe a little soft from Bournemouth, but I don't care. I think it's fantastic that we were level and we were in it. And I didn't really know what to expect, because the game was kind of so open and back and forth that I had no idea what was going to happen next. Yeah,
totally agree. And again with Ward-Prowse, first of all with Ward-Prowse, I've taken me a long time to. So weirdly, last season was the first I'd ever really picked up on a lot of Saints fans criticising Ward-Prowse for not doing enough, when I actually thought up until that point that was his best season for Saints. As before, I just always thought he had plenty of tools, but always sort of failed to deliver on them. Mm-hmm. Whereas I think perhaps a lot of Saints fans at the time were willing him on, because it's natural for you to really want your academy player to succeed. I think a lot of people overlooked his deficiencies, but he has really, especially since Ralph's taken over, he's really sort of stepped it up a gear. He's a lot more aggressive. He's still, obviously, you can't just develop pace. He's definitely on the slower side of our midfield, but I think he makes up with that he seems to be a lot more intelligent defensively now. Mm-hmm. He's definitely a lot more aggressive, and the fact that did you say it's his 7th goal of the season?
Yeah.
I mean, and a lot of them through open play, whereas before, you'd have the odd free kick goal or the odd penalty. He's scoring a lot of goals from open play now, which is really positive, because for quite a few seasons now we've really lacked that sort of midfielders, especially centrally, from chipping in with goals.
Yeah.
If Ward-Prowse can provide that, regardless of any sort of transfer dealings in the summer. That's a real positive for us. In terms of him hitting a shot from distance with his left foot, I thought he'd scuffed it from where I was, but fortunately Artur Boruc is getting on a little bit, so I think he struggled to get down so low. So I don't think it was right in the corner of his goal, but as you say, the goal went in, even if it was soft from Bournemouth. 2-2. Just the fact that we even showed fight to get back into the game, which has been missing for so long since Koeman left, really.
Yeah.
It's just satisfying. The fact that we ultimately didn't win, but the fact that I don't think Arsene Wenger was ever content with not winning a match, and he will try and make those changes. And the fact that the team responded to them changes is really positive, regardless of the end result.
Yeah, and the goal was always for the team to get to safety, and that was stated, and job done there. The next goal, I think, is 40 points, and I think as we look forward, there will be there's still a chance to get to that, and I think I've been guilty of looking up the table more than back, just because of the way the team has been playing, and kind of confident that we would get enough points to be safe, and then hopefully be able to. I mean, had we won yesterday and just kind of reeled in 2 or 3 more teams in the table, I think all of a sudden, you have the opportunity to finish in a much more respectable position than probably where we're going to wind up, depending on how the last 2 weeks go. But we can't really stop talking about the game until we talk about Matt Targett's first ever goal. And I think we were talking before we started recording about Ings and dropping deep, and I think we may have mentioned on the show. I know we've been talking for like 2 hours at this point, but so it's hard to remember.
Merged into each other.
Yeah. But Ings, I think, holds the ball up in the penalty area. Maybe it comes out to Ward Prowse, who plays it out to Valerie, who took one touch and then ran by Nathan Ake, who is a good defender and somebody that we all kind of wanted on the team. I think a lot of people were calling for us to sign him, and he's not been mistake free this season. And I just think it's not it shouldn't be like an "I told you so" moment for anybody who didn't want him, but it should definitely be every player has mistakes in them, and every player has opportunities to learn and improve. And just because we missed out on somebody doesn't mean we've made the ultimate wrong decision ever, But that aside, the fact that Valerie took one touch and then just ran by him and got the cross in, I thought was beautiful. And then I had no idea where Matt Targett came from. I had no idea he wasn't even in the television picture when the ball went up, I didn't think. And that header was just beautiful.
Yeah. I think Boruc did get a hand to it but as you say, it was I love headers that go across goal. Mm-hmm. And the fact that it was, there's far post, and there was Matt Targett's far post. The fact that it managed to sort of squeeze in, again, like in the stadium, it was kind of travelled in slow motion. And from my viewpoint, it was hard to sort of see through the crowd of defenders to see if it had gone in until you see the ball rippling in the net. Yeah, that was unbelievable. I think in terms of Nathan Ake, I think you're right. No player is perfect, and if Nathan Ake was perfect, he would certainly wouldn't be playing for Bournemouth.
Right.
But
very good point.
With Valerie, I actually when he picked up the ball, I rarely do this because I'm stood at the other side of the stadium. Like, he's not going to hear me. I was like, did the old sort of coaching from the stands. I was like, first time, put a cross, and he totally ignored me and made the right decision. So I'm glad that I was as far away from earshot as possible. Because but that's the thing. Like, was it a really good cross, or did he overhit it and Target happened to wind up there?
See, I'm not sure. So his first
they're one
touch,
and the same, really, aren't they?
Yeah. His first touch is like probably 25 yards away from the end line, I guess.
A mammoth touch.
Yeah, and he takes it, and it goes like halfway down the 18-yard box, and I don't know, it's good, and he puts it in, and the ball loops, and when Target heads it, he is on the edge of the 6-yard box on the other side of the goal. So he heads the ball all the way across goal, and I think if Boruc doesn't get a touch, I think the defender clears it, but I don't care.
That is a very good point. I think you're right. I think Boric did ever so slightly just sort of take out the range of that defender on the line. But as you say, couldn't care less. It went in. And obviously at that point it was 3-2. So we were all feeling very good about ourselves for a change.
What did the stadium do at that point? I mean, I think everybody just kind of probably erupted, but I mean, what was there? Was it anything more than maybe normal in terms of the celebration that happened?
Yes, especially so where I have my season ticket. It's one block away from the away fans, and the row I stand on is usually overcrowded with people anyway. But for this game, there were people I didn't recognise. There's a guy with a fluorescent sort of yellowy green jacket, and kind of shoved a load of us out of the way and disappeared. And I realised he was trying to. He's either giving Bournemouth fans abuse face to face, or he was trying to get at them. It went nuts. I don't know whether it's because it was almost like a delayed reaction, because especially from where we were, it was so unclear whether it looked like the ball was at least close to going in, and then obviously it sort of builds up anticipation, and you see it goes in, and everyone goes nuts. But also it's the fact that we came back from 2-1 down to make it 3-2, and Bournemouth fans were, absolutely loving the fact they were 2-1 up against, their biggest rivals ever, and in their version of a cup final.
Yeah.
So to sort of give it back was fun. It did erupt, and a few people probably did a few things they shouldn't have done. But yeah, that game had a little bit of that. At one point, actually, I think it was in the first half, maybe after they got their second goal, I looked over, so the away fans to our left, but sort of they're on the same stand as us, so you can't really see them all that clearly. And then there's the Itchen stand, connecting to the away fans, and I saw there was looked like a fight broke out near the directors' boxes, which I believe probably was due to some Bournemouth fans being in one of the, not directors' boxes, sorry, just one of the ordinary sort of company boxes. So I assume some Bournemouth fans had tickets up there and maybe celebrated for one of their goals. Saw some beatings being dished out around there from a distance, which
we don't encourage. You weren't doing your MMA job.
Not at all. That is one problem though with Saints, and it usually happens against the bigger teams. Usually Liverpool or United. Have a real problem of for some reason those box tickets seem to just get bought out by fans of those teams. Mm-hmm. And there seems to or elsewhere in the stadium, there always seems to be trouble. Yeah. But I don't know what you can really do to sort of police that better, but there should be an improvement, because you might get some totally inoffensive fans getting caught up in that. So it should be looked into for sure.
Yeah. I mean, we don't condone violence.
No,
it's not great. It's not what the football pitch is for. But some people go looking for that, and sometimes alcohol, whatever. Things happen. Hopefully people learn. We'll move on. I just have written here, at 3-2 down. I just have, I don't even know. For some reason, Matt Target's goal didn't even make my notes. I think I just tweeted about it. So, whatever. So I just hear that the Bournemouth here realize they can't defend, so they just go full winger and just put all of the attackers on. I don't know if you've ever watched any of the Arsenal matches when Wenger, towards the end of the matches, would just go like, well, we'll just put all of the attacking players on and let them play. Like, jazz type football. We'll just let them go create stuff. And they were just, I was a little worried. And, Armstrong gets caught on the ball. That leads to the third goal, the tying goal. I think Fraser's involved again. And then Jack Stevens gives the ball away, and Wilson goes clean through, and Gunn has to come up with a save. Otherwise, we lose that point. That would have been so vital for us. So it's at the end of the day that there were definitely plenty of mistakes in the game that we made. There were definitely things we could have done better. You think about the long chance early on. You think about just Armstrong passing the ball. You think about all those things. Because I think that Bournemouth capitalized on our mistakes a lot more than, and we had to go create chances. And I think that's good that we did that. And it's also, you can clean up the mistakes, and that makes it, I think that gives us a chance to be a lot better than we were yesterday, even though I thought offensively, I thought we were pretty good.
Yeah, for sure. I totally forgot about that Armstrong mistake. And obviously he tried to make up for it with by absolutely flying into a tackle, which he missed.
Yeah, I mean,
that was really bad.
I would have preferred he connected, not because I dislike Callum Wilson, but I'll say that Callum Wilson is an impressive looking individual. You know, he fills out the shirt nicely. He looks like he could probably be an MMA fighter. I wouldn't want to get in there with him. That would be terrible. But yeah, Armstrong just completely missed that tackle. It's wasn't great, but oh well. We walk out of there. They still haven't won at St. Mary's, so that there's that. We get the point. We need to be safe, and we have 2 more games to kind of take steps towards next season. And we are running a little bit short on time, but that's okay. I have a couple of questions that we could go into. I think we talked about the Shane Long. Does Shane Long deserve a new contract? That came in from Instagram. My kids are yelling at each other, which is fun.
That because they're in support of Long getting a new contract, I'm sure.
I can ask. Hold on. Poppy, does Shane Long deserve a new contract? What? Does Shane Long deserve a new contract? Yes. She says yes.
Well, that's done. You don't need to ask me.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, I mean, I think give him, as long as we keep him at the cup, give him next season to show us what he can do. Then yeah, why not? I mean, he's 32 now. I sort of admire his honesty that he said he doesn't think he deserves a contract, but he wants to prove that he does. Probably prove to himself as well that he can compete at the level still. And is it 5 and 6? 5 goals in 6 games, something like that.
Yeah, something like that. 4 and 5 or 5 and 6, something like that.
Yeah, one of the two. Why not? Just keep him over the summer. I guarantee he's not one of our highest earners. Keep him over the summer. I think Ralph likes him. I think he works well in the system, even if he isn't as prolific in those 6 or 5 games now as for next season. Yeah, give him a chance, and if he can keep it up, why not? Year extension, something like that.
Yeah, I think that's fair. So I have 2 more things that I want to ask you. Because I don't think we have time to go through, the entire transfer window and what Saints need to do. Even though I think that we may see, and I could be totally off base here, but I think what we may see going into West Ham and Huddersfield is you may see guys that maybe don't necessarily have a claim to be around, get a chance. Like I imagine if there's any sort of fitness or injury concern, the guys won't be played. So you could see Kane Ramsey get a chance to play right back. You could see Fraser Forster get a half of football since McCarthy is out there. I think those are possibilities, not necessarily. But I also at the same time, I'm not sure Ralph is willing to do that. Like, Ralph wants to win, and you only get 3 substitutions a game. It's not all of a sudden a friendly where you can do as much as you want. So it'll be interesting because the 40-point mark that he set out there still has to be reached. So we did get a question about that from Chris Nig, which on Instagram. But we're not going to go into the full transfer window because I think we definitely need some improvement there. But Dave Lee,
we'll have a separate podcast for that.
Yeah, that has to be. Yeah, we'll the summer is full. I can't give that away right now. I gotta have something to cover over that portion of the whatever it is. Losing my train of thought. But anyway, so Dave Lee, who has been a guest on the show and who is a patron of the show, and patrons get priority for having their questions answered each and every week on the show. It's one of the benefits. And he asked this question in the private group chat that we have that is just for Patreons. So you can find out more about that at patreon.com/SFC delivery. So he actually doesn't really ask a question. He says maybe worth a chat about on this week's show. He's not a real big fan of this. I don't know if you're looking at the outline, but it has like kind of the tier maker where he has players who are like class, good, average, below average, or terrible, or need to leave. I don't know if you can see that or not, but I just, is there anybody in the squad, or which players in the squad do you think absolutely have to stay with us? Who can't we afford to leave or miss out on this summer, and which players maybe do you think should go? And we won't deal with the kind of the in betweens, but like either extreme.
Okay, right. So I'm looking now at Dave's tiers.
Dave didn't do that. He pulled that off Twitter. Just so you know. Yeah.
Okay.
We won't get mad at him for this.
No, I agree with it. Really, I think for sure we need to keep Jan Bednarek, Højbjerg. I think Redmond needs to stay. Ward-Prowse. I think Ryan Bertrand as well. We need that sort of like ever-present. As long as he can stay fit, I think looks like he's overcome his injury issues. So I think, for sure they all need to stay. In terms of needs to go, I'm trying to think more in terms of to free up funds in the summer. I'm certain, even though we sold more players in January, and obviously some are on loan, hopefully we can get rid of them in the summer. So I think everyone we sent out on loan needs to go, hopefully at good prices. I think it's imperative Fraser Forster has taken off our wage bill. Somehow he is our highest paid player, and he's got a lot of contract left to run, which is a bit of a problem. Forster needs to go. I think I wouldn't be upset if Charlie Austin went, and that's not a shot at him at all. I just think I just don't think he's good enough, especially for the style of football Ralph Hasenhüttl plays. I think maybe those two. Oh, Jack Stevens as well. Yeah, Jack Stevens. I think those are the three I'd definitely make a conscious effort of trying to sort of offload. Maybe we could get some money for them, but who knows?
And you know the Elyounoussi thing is always weird. When we just bought him, we spent a significant amount of money on him. He hasn't really worked out. You wonder. I'm
not writing him off.
No. I wonder if maybe he goes out on loan next season, if that can be secured, and let him go play. But I don't know, because he looked. I mean, if you watch him in that Basel team, even against Manchester City, he just looked great.
And that's where I saw him, and I was genuinely excited when we signed him. I remember, the Man City game, he was very good. I feel he's never had a real consistent run in the team. Maybe a stretch of 2-3 games in a row where he starts, especially under Hughes, and then either through injury or another player coming into form, he's never really been that ever present. Just give him a pre-season. Hopefully Ralph can, find the best and get the best out of him. I'm not willing to write him off, just like I wasn't with Buffal. I think Buffal's behavioural issues are other things which will probably hold him back from really sort of getting into the Saints first team again. And I don't think he'd work hard enough for Ralph. I think Elyounoussi, I mean, did you see his interviews when he was on international duty? He seems like a very humble guy. Mm-hmm. He wants to prove himself at Southampton, and sometimes that as a motivator is a strong motivator. And I think I'm certainly not as down on him as some other fans. But like with any Southampton player, I will them to do well.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, I'm still reserving judgment on him. I don't have anything to really base that off, apart from some Champions League appearances I've seen him playing. But obviously, he's playing for a team he's very familiar with, and probably play a certain style he was accustomed to in Switzerland and everything else. I hope he can find his feet at Saints.
Yeah, and I don't think he's going. I don't think he'll go anywhere. Maybe he'll go on loan, but I think we've seen what can happen when guys decide I have to prove this, whether it's to myself or to everybody else or whatever it is. A lot of people wanted Redmond gone last year. And you look at the season he's had, and he still has improvements to make, but he's been fantastic. So, to kind of wrap it up on a slightly more joyous, fun note, maybe this could be really bad. I might get cut completely. Who knows? Ralph mentioned that the guys were going to be off until Wednesday. So let them go out and do anything. So I just wonder, who do you think we'll go down the list of people and the number of goals they scored, and you decide if they had more beers than goals they've scored, or more or less, more or fewer. What's the proper way to say that? If they've had, I'll give you an example. Danny Ings has scored seven goals this season. You think he had more than 7 beers or less than 7 beers last night in the celebration?
I think less. I think he'll be so concerned about fitness and everything else. I think he'll be scared to drink. I think he'd probably want to put on a good show of face for Ralph to make him look as professional as possible, to maintain his spot on the side.
This is where I really wish Charlie Austin would have scored like 9 goals, because I think next up is James Ward-Prowse, who also has 7 goals. You think he's more or less than 7 beers?
Again, I think less. I think from what I've read and heard about Ward-Prowse, he is like the consummate professional, and watches everything he eats, doesn't go out. You'll never sort of get one of those salacious gossip stories about James Ward-Prowse. He's, I think, apart from when he's with his girlfriend or wife, I think he's on the training pitch practicing free kicks, from what I can tell. That's all he does. So, yes, I think a lot less than 7 beers. Maybe 1 alcohol-free beer
at home with the new baby, who is, I'm not sure how new it is anymore. Shane Long, we've gotten to an Irish guy, so we'll just go full stereotype here. 5 goals, so more or less.
Let's go more. He'll need a beer. He'll have a beer to celebrate. Let's say he'll have 3 beers to celebrate his goal, and 3 beers to commiserate for that shocking miss.
I'm with you there. Next up is Nathan Redmond. I don't even think we need to ask, because I think he drinks wine. I think him and Bertrand are big wine drinkers, and I can't do that. And then Hoiberg, who doesn't have social media. But he's on 4. Yeah,
he's drunk more than 4. He's probably drinking Carlsberg as well, Danish beer. It's as weak as anything, Carlsberg. I think he's stuck to Carlsberg, and then I reckon he drank 8.
And it's still fine,
it's still fine. Yeah. Still shouting. And as our on pitch captain, I'm sure he was leading the drinks at full time as well.
Maybe, there was no cup to drink it out of, so at least that's a thing. Armstrong is at 3, and then we have 1 more after that, and then we'll call it good.
So a Scottish guy drinking under 3 beers in a sitting, I'd suggest he drinks more, but he seems like a very well-kept man.
Mm-hmm. He might have gone home and just had like a scotch instead.
Yeah, on the rocks, wearing a suit for no reason. He's one or the other, isn't he? He's either heavy, or he tries to play it too cool.
Yeah, for sure. And just for a good laugh, Charlie Austin scored 2 goals this season.
He is drinking 10 times his goal scoring amount.
Jake, this has been great, man. I totally appreciate you coming on, and It's always a pleasure to talk to you. And we spoke before, life is hectic. And so for you to make time to do this, I appreciate it. It's good fun for me, and I enjoy always getting the chance to speak with you.
No, me too. Thank you for having me on board. There's always too long and awkward silence after each podcast. I'm always thinking, did I do something to piss off Matt?
No.
But no, it's always a pleasure to speak to you before and during the podcast. It's probably best we keep our before podcast conversations as private as possible.
Oh, absolutely.
But no, honestly, thank you for having me on. It's always really good fun.
Yeah, no problem. And for anybody who's looking to get in touch with you, they can do that at JJHughes _ on Twitter, and also at St. Mary's Musings, and the link to the website and the Twitter handle are all in the show notes, so people can do that. And and we'll I always say this, but we'll try to talk again soon. And I'm sure we all know how that works, but we'll do it.
Yeah, well, you mentioned earlier with summer transfers, things like that. If you want to do a podcast about that, I'm happy to be on board.
That's good, because I am that is my least favorite thing to cover. So to have somebody who's excited about it, rather than me getting on and dragging the just going, whoa.
Excited's not necessarily the right word, but if we can somehow take the piss out of the whole process as much as possible, I think that'll be a fun listen. Hopefully, people will dig it.
Well, maybe I'll go Charlie Austin levels of beer, and I won't Carlsberg before we do it.
Yeah, well, that could be interesting. Make that a video podcast.
Ooh, all right. I got some cleaning up around the house to do before I do that, but I'll get on it.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, thank you so much. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Matt.
And that does it for this episode of the Southampton Delivery Podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope you've enjoyed it. Special thanks this week goes out to my guest, Jake Hughes. You can find him on Twitter at JJHughes _ and get a hold of him at St. Mary's Musings, at St. Mary's Musings. The link to the website is also in the show notes. I really appreciate everything that I got to talk about with Jake, whether it made the show or not. He's a fantastic guy, and I wish him nothing but the best. So, Jake, thank you very much. We'll talk to you again soon. And once again, thank you to everybody who has been listening and who has subscribed. If you haven't done so, you can do that on the website at southamptondelivery.com. There are links to a number of different platforms where you can subscribe and make it nice and easy. And if you're enjoying the show, please consider leaving a review. It really does help, and tell other people about it. As we come to the end of our third season of covering the team, it really has been a fun ride. And this is the best end of the season that we've had. I can definitely say that. So we'll see how it goes from here on out. But the show would not be possible without you for listening. So thank you. And for the Patreon supporters at patreon.com/SFC Delivery. Thank you to everybody who does that. I really do appreciate it. It helps keep the show hosted, keep the show advertisement free, so we can keep making episodes. And hopefully you enjoy the little bit extra you get. If you're interested, check it out at patreon.com/SFC Delivery. There's a link from the website, southamptondelivery.com, to it. Matt Beeling of the We Are Southampton page on Instagram does the logo for the show. So thank you to Matt. He's been around a long time. And for all every match day edits, polls, competitions, and more, be sure to check out the We Are Southampton page on Instagram. The partner of the show is the Southampton page. Jay has been a huge help to me from day one. You can follow them on Twitter. You can follow them on Instagram and join the over 20,000 people who are getting their team news and content from that very particular Instagram page. And special thanks to everybody who followed me recently on Instagram. The show just went over 1,000 followers on Instagram. And as I say that, I'm sure that it will now revert to 999. That's okay. It makes my son laugh whenever he sees that number. All music for the show comes courtesy of the Free Music Archive at freemusicarchive.org. The intro song is Epic Song by Boxcat Games, and the intro show credits that you're listening to right now is Aim is True by Poddington Bear. Follow along on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, however you do. Subscribe to the show. You can do all that from southamptondelivery.com. Make sure you don't miss the next episode. And until then, remember that together, we march on.